Yeah, good morning, Sir Terfel. That's fantastic to see you.
Good morning. It looks like clear blue sky where you are.
Yes, you know where I am? I'm sitting on the rooftops of Salzburg, of the famous festival town. And behind you can see the Museum of Modern Art.
Yes.
On the Mönchberg.
And do you live in Salzburg?
I live in many opera cities, but basically in Vienna. But in August, we are touring around to go normally to Bayreuth, to Salzburg, but also to others.
Oh, what a life! You are the vagabond of opera cities.
So to say, I'm the ambulant reporter of Wagner new productions worldwide from the Neue Merkel, our Austrian opera magazine, and some other platforms.
Wow, amazing! You must have seen so many fabulous.
Yes, I saw you. Of course, I saw you in the Royal Opera House, Flying Dutchman. Fantastic! I was sitting in the first row. Andres Nelson's conducting, I think. And I saw your Wotan also in the Warner Ring.
You're sitting in a city that was very, very important for the nourishment of my career in the beginning. Salzburg and Gérard Mortier.
Really? Let us know a bit about it. It's interesting.
Well, I sang Sprecher in Die Zauberflöte in Brussels. And Gérard Mortier heard me sing that one page of glorious music. And immediately he offered me the role of Geisterbote in the Die Frauen Schatten.
Oh, yeah.
Also the new production of Salome with the crazy Luc Bondy and the wonderful Christoph von der Gnani. But before that, the Die Frauen Schatten was in the Easter Festival. So that was my first experience of singing abroad. And being away from your family and your loved ones. But of course, it was the natural progression of when you have to work, you have to sacrifice.
For instance, Thielemann, the famous conductor, always says he cannot see the hotels anymore. I mean, this is the life of you guys. The more success you've got, the more you are separated from your loved ones.
Indeed, and of course, learning and looking at Fidelio at the moment, apparently the last thing that Beethoven said, maybe when his publisher gave him 12 bottles of wine, he said, too late, far too late. So I don't want to turn around at the end of my career and say, I wish I had done that. But I feel that I've had the necessary ammunition in the sense of singing the correct roles when I was young, which gave me a wonderful platform and the bridge into roles like Strauss, you know, like Barak in Die Frauen Schatten, or
wonderful.
In Salome, and of course now we're my very, very short career in the Wagnerian sense of Tannhäuser in New York, and then the Fliegende Holländer in the Royal Opera House. And I count my blessings that I could sing Hans Sachs on my home stage here in Cardiff, in Wales, to sing most probably what is essentially the longest role ever written for the bass baritone voice.
Yeah, more hero baritone, no?
Yeah, and I do consider Wagner as a wonderful composer to sing, because he has dynamics and he has incredible dramatic scenes that you can sing in every style. You could sing in the style of any dynamic that you want to sing, as even a leader singer would interpret some of the sections of the Ring Cycle, for instance, or Hans Sachs.
Yes.
So no, it's been quite an emotional journey, but I'm still life will bring different things. So the hurdle of a pandemic, it's now up to opera houses to think outside of the box and maybe consider changing certain things.
This is what I actually like to discuss a little bit with you, because you are a very prominent figure in the international opera scene, worldwide known, and you have made your success. How do you think that this present pandemic, this coronavirus pandemic, will have effect on the culture sector in general? Because we are all worried here in Salzburg. The daily talk is, how will it go on? Will it go on? Will we ever be able to come back to a fully seated festival theater? Because from the virologists we keep hearing, we have to live with the virus for a long time. So how do you see the repercussions of this pandemic on the cultural sector?
Of course, I think there is murmurings already of different cities coping, in a sense, with what the pandemic has brought into our classical scene. Madrid, they did a number of performances of Traviata with a certain grid on the stage. Do you go to the opera house to see a production, or do you go to hear the singers? A little bit of both. When you do hear the human voice, you have to give a sense of dramatic quality, even when you're singing. So obviously, we are all praying for the vaccine, but in a sense, maybe the opera houses will be in the future developing new systems of cleaning the air, of systems of testing people when they go into the theater. Obviously, we have to be more prepared with masks, and it all boils down to how confident people will be to go into the theater, and it seems that certain places are doing this. I have plans to do recitals in London. I have plans to do Munich haven't cancelled Tosca yet. I know Zurich haven't cancelled Sweeney Todd in January. So maybe they are thinking of processing the opera house in a way that's legal to the requirements.
I mean, look, we are talking of an art form which has reached the biblical age of 420 years by now. It has passed through several world wars. It has passed through much worse epidemics, pandemics than we have now, the pest and whatever you like. And always we have come back to a glorious continuation of this most complex, most expensive, and most wonderful art form in our view, of course, as operatic goers. Nevertheless, I would like to ask you, what do you think is behind a phenomenon which is quite interesting to note, that particularly in the opera sector, but also in the theater sector, the reopening after the first big wave of the virus has been much more remote and much more careful than in any other sector. If you look, Peter Gelb has closed the Met until the end of the year. In Vienna, they are trying to open with certain restrictions, but I don't see, if you consider other public meetings or get-togethers, we are extremely careful on the cultural sector, the opera sector. What is behind this?
I think you have answered the question in a wonderful sense of passionate and 420 years of any different styles of performance is quite exceptional. So are we going back therefore to the Commedia dell'arte, to the troops of singers going to different villages to perform the opening?
But then Wagner is out.
Obviously, if you position us alongside sporting venues, if they start to bring people back to support football or rugby or basketball or anything, then they have to get it right because of that second wave. So who knows? I see the open air theater in Verona they had a concert with some marvelous singers. Obviously, no
I've just
audience.
been there. Just been there. It was very, very well done.
But it was wonderful to actually see the orchestra back on the stage.
Yeah.
I see Salzburg are going to do Così fan tutte, and that the Salzburg festival, although curtailed, will still go on in August. Yes, Peter Gelb has closed the Metropolitan until at least the new year, but there are rumors of concert versions being applied. I think in Verona, I read Leonucci is going to do Gianni Schicchi.
Yes.
So in a sense, yes, these are baby steps. And of course, we're all important, and the audiences are very important to us as well. And we want them to be incredibly safe and in an environment that they can feel comfortable in. But I know my friends in Spain, they went to the performances of Traviata in Madrid. They went to hear the three casts. And they felt particularly comfortable in the theater when everybody was being careful with masks and you know, the social guidance of simple things like using toilets and no bars. So do we then start thinking of changing how the air system works in an opera house? Obviously, air conditioning is not good in the sense of the virus. You see spikes. I hear in Aberdeen in Scotland now, one certain bar in Aberdeen has been blamed for a spike in that city. So I just want to perform. I sang for the first time last week for the National Eisteddfod here in Wales. They built 3 tents. The band was in one tent, the singers in another tent, and the dancers in the other tent. Obviously, no audience, but it was performed for television. So these are the steps that one should take.
Yeah.
To be very careful.
Open air performances, of course, are in high noon right now. I actually happened to see 10 days ago an open air Rheingold near Sofia on the lakeside. Unbelievable. Can you imagine? On the big steel pontoon, Professor Kartelov showed his Rheingold there open air, and it was a beautiful event. These are the possibilities, but in the long run, we have to come back to the opera houses. The society has built beautiful houses, opera houses. They themselves are kind of light towers in cities. They are by themselves, they are pieces of artwork, of architectural artwork. My question would be, given this pandemic, but not only that, but also given other elements which are more and more intruding in our societal context and ductus of communication, particularly the cell phone communication, the flatness very often of the way how we communicate through all these new means, social media. Will that affect the role of the art form opera in the medium and long term, particularly? What is your view about that?
Well, obviously, on the platform of the internet, you see some elements of classical music, but opera scarcely has one seen anything in the months of anything. Maybe the home gala from the Metropolitan Opera, you saw some people singing duets, but on the opera stage, no. I wish sometimes that Madrid would have maybe televised the performance performances of Traviata. I would have loved to have seen Das Rheingold on a lake, on a stage, like, a little bit like Bregenz. So who knows? Maybe the directors and most importantly the set designers maybe have to change their ways just for a little while, maybe a couple of years where productions are very different, and maybe bring back those one-act operas that we dearly love, like Il Tabarro, Gianni Schicchi, like Walton's The Bear. Suor Angelica, of course. These maybe could be our saviors in the operatic realm to bring a sense of maybe having new commissions, maybe a composers writing new operas. We have to think a long planning for this.
Should we not also think of these kind of very interesting points you made, shorter version, getting in to the houses a younger audience? Because generally speaking, the classical audience of the opera are beyond 45, 50, mostly 60 years in many capitals of the world. Not so much in the new opera countries like Korea and Japan. It's totally different. China, making a big show with young people. But in Europe, in our classical places, should not that be also a major task to attract a more middle-aged audience to the opera, in spite of all the other options they have got to divert themselves?
Yeah, well, I don't have the figures of what the percentage of the ages that come to the opera houses. I certainly see when I'm singing in Europe that the interest of the younger generation is far greater. I would say, indeed, bring in lots of different modern equipment to maybe now have some fun on the stage and have some fun productions. Obviously, there are certain operas that have big choruses and big orchestras, and maybe we will not see them for a couple of years until that vaccine is found and is tested and is correct, and all the dots, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. That we can bring something to an opera that's very special. I know in Vienna they have multiple sets of old productions hiding somewhere in the Burgenland. They could bring those sets back of those glory days of listening to those recordings where singers would hardly move. I remember listening to Hans singing a live performance of Die Walküre, and it's obvious through hearing and listening to him, he wasn't moving very much on the stage. So maybe these are the times to bring that and focus on the human voice, focus on those.
I think this is a message we should have learned, that the opera is not possible without the opera singer, actor. And this has very often come too close when you look at the situation, particularly of the freelance singers who actually are kind of left open in the rain now in this crisis, when their productions were cancelled. The opera singer is the heart of the opera. And let us stop here, because I think we should also go to your Graz appointment, because this is the reason why you come here to Austria, and we are very, very happy. I will also be there for the third performance with a friend. What did bring you to Graz, and what do you think about your assignment there, and about the role of Don Pizarro, which is also your debut, I understand, in Fidelio of Ludwig van Beethoven?
Yes. Well, I have to bring up that point. Obviously, this pandemic is plowing its way through our lives rather cruelly, in the sense that it affects somebody who is in the profession for 30 years, as it affects a young singer that's about to commence on their careers. Obviously, we try and use a platform in the last 6 months to help people. And we've been recording things from home for the Grange Park Opera, for instance, just outside London for Waspikani. We've been doing recitals and we've been doing birthday announcements that they give money to the opera and to the team, in effect. Our wonderful tax man will always be nipping at our heels to get his payments. So we need to start working. And when Graz came along through Merkel, and he said, "Would you come to Graz and do Fidelio?" Immediately I thought, of course, but will it happen? That was always the question. And yes, it is a new role for me. Of course, I've sang a multitude of Beethoven Ninth Symphonies and Missa Solemnis, some of his wonderful songs, but never Pizarro. I always had that wonderful Karajan recording with Sotin and I think it was it Lucia Pop anyway. Of course, it fits nicely into the roles of playing misfits and malcontents on the stage. So, and it is a story that is as apt today with liberty, justice, and freedom and love. So, so I've obviously sung.
It's a universal subject. Always value, always relevant. Unfortunately, the side of the committed or taken freedom is unfortunately also universal.
Yeah. So of course, Pizarro is it's quite a dramatic role. It's heavy singing, and the tessitura is beautifully bass baritonal, and so. I've been watching some old performances on YouTube, and I'm actually now looking at the second act. So of course we have to, sometimes in our careers we have to learn things very quickly. So when the green light came that the performances were going ahead, of course I had to strive forward now to start learning, because it's a new role for me. And I have a little bit of a confession. I have a baby brain at the moment, because we just welcomed to the world a baby boy.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you very much. He's 1 month old last Friday, fantastic. And he with his first screams in the after being born, he blew away everybody's personal protection equipment in the room. The PPEs came off, and Alfie had a Notung shout. He was a Helden tenor.
Well, there you are.
Has been born.
There you are.
Yeah. So and to say, of course, in the back of your mind now you have. There are 2 flights to go to Graz. I have to fly to Vienna, I have to fly to Graz. So little things that never really became a problem in the equation of being a vagabond like we are.
Yes.
Now you're thinking there's preparation for even international travel now. And travel is going to come back. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt. No, of course not. No.
And you've traveled more than I have in the last month. So, and you look particularly healthy, especially with the blue skies behind you. Yeah. So,
but how is your experience in Graz? The rehearsals and everything. Everything going fine. Merkel is very happy that you're coming. I may say here for our audience, Merkel is a very young and extremely talented maestro, conductor. He is, I think, only 28 years old. And for him, it is a fantastic thing to work with you. He's very appreciative.
Oh, wonderful! Because I worked with his girlfriend on the production of Sweeney Todd, so that was the initial connection.
I did an interview with him also last month, and it will come out in the September edition of the Neue Merker, including already the experience with you.
Wonderful. So, no, I'm looking forward to Graz, and I have always been quite involved with concert versions of opera, because sometimes I feel it brings down the element of performance and entertainment to a level that everybody can enjoy. When you have the orchestra on the stage, the singers work together on the stage, and the audience are part of what's happening on the stage. I think it's so I already did Tosca and Falstaff. We brought a production to the Liverpool Philharmonic, and people seem to enjoy that sense. So hopefully, even concert performances now will come back very, very strongly.
Yeah, I would rather opt for not for pure concert performance, but maybe for semi-concert or semi-scenical performances. Very often in the recent past, particularly in the Wagner stage, we could see semi-scenical productions, which were much more impressive than full-fledged productions.
Yeah. Yes,
and it does not cost so much money. It is easier for the actors, and you can do very good job, very detailed Personenregie. You can come. The interpersonal linkages can be established very well in semi-scenical or semi-concert productions.
Yeah. Yes, I think, I'm not sure if it's true, but Hans Hotte famously said that the best performances of Wagner he had was in his music room. So you take away all the sets and all the movements, and I think I have even in the role of Wotan, I think I particularly enjoyed the concert semi-stage versions that we did in Tanglewood, did in the Edinburgh Festival. It solidifies the mind, the body, and frees up the technical capabilities of the voice. You know, when you're doing big Wagnerian roles, you have the spears and the heavy costumes.
You always have your hand full. Wotan always one hand covered.
Yes.
So let us mention here again, I think for our audience, the Graz performance of Fidelio will be 22 and 23 of August. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's correct. Yeah.
3 performances.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we're coming to an end. I would just like you to give your possibility to you to tell us about your future plans, and any other issue you want to speak to our audience. Now the bell is ringing here, unfortunately 11 times, because I'm sitting very close to the Dreifaltigkeitskirche.
Yeah, yeah. What I have started looking at is something that I have been particularly afraid of. Winterreise.
Yeah. Winterreise, of course.
I have the famous recording of Hotte and Gerald Moore and listened to it many, many times. I've never seen anybody sing Winterreise because I felt that I didn't know the scope of this incredible journey and work. So at last, I have opened the pages. The scores are not creaking anymore, and I've blown away the dust. So
fantastic.
Is already starting to develop in my little music room here. And I tell you, Deutsche Grammophon are very happy that I've started to learn Winterreise.
Great. And what about opera? Any other opera role?
In the future, of course, I have the usual protagonists of the roles that I'm singing at the moment. Falstaff in a new production at Grange Park Opera next year. As I told you in Munich, Tosca still not cancelled yet. Sweeney Todd.
Yeah. Then we might meet each other. I will be in September and October in Munich.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nearby.
So I'm in the time of my singing now that I can start looking at smaller roles that are not so prolific as the main principal roles. So things like Balstrud in Peter Grimes, which I think is coming up a couple of times. I've been looking at Bartolo in The Barber of Seville.
What about the role Billy Budd?
Claggett. Ja, ist ein bisschen zu tief für mich. It's too low. It's a very bass role, Claggett, and of course the insinuation is in those very low notes of
what I would love to hear you as Hans Sachs.
I think my Hans Sachs days are gone because he's not in my diary for the next 3 years, and I can't imagine myself singing it when I'm past my 60th birthday.
Okay. You look much younger though.
Well, we try. These young babies that keep arriving keep you young.
Yeah, they make you younger immediately.
Yes.
Okay, Sir Terfel, I was told I've only got 30 minutes, so we are here. I think we have to finish, and I appreciate very much your time. Thank you so much for all our readers. And it was a pleasure talking to you and having got these new ideas and different views about what is going on. And maybe we meet in Munich shortly for a drink.
Definitely. That would be fantastic.
And by the way, I have traveled many countries, but never I was in Wales. I have to come to Cardiff.
Yes, you must. I think you might enjoy the welcome that you have in Wales, and of course we have our museums and lakes and countryside and
the coast. Yeah. No, I will come.
Miles of coastline. So.
But I'm not making up with the language. Oh my God, this language is such a difficulty.
Yes, it's very difficult. But if you want to plan a visit of Wales, always do it through the castles of Wales.
Of course, yeah.
So go to Caernarfon Castle, then Harlech Castle.
Yeah.
Down here
Thank
to
you.
Castle. No.
Okay, I wish you all the best for Graz.
Thank you. Vielen Dank.
Vielen Dank. Be a grim Pizarro, a frightening Pizarro.
Welch ein Augenblick. Wir machen wirklich kühl und wichtig. Okay.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.